So, welcome to The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. And today I got a special guest coming from Montgomery, Alabama. She is an award-winning interior designer whose passion and achievements in design have positioned her as one of the area's best. Her distinguished designs can be seen in luxury homes and commercial projects throughout the country. Most important, she's a hardworking wife and mother of three. Ashley Gilbreath, it's an honor. Welcome to The Real Build. How are you?
You're so sweet. We are good. Good. Thank you. Doing great. Thank you. That's a very
I'm
sweet.
happy to have you on. I love having interior designers on because a lot of people don't know how hard you guys truly work, and we're going to get into that. So, because
Yeah.
you guys run, me being a builder, you guys run a lot of the projects. So, so I like to get started too with your kind of your background, going over that. So let's talk about who is Ashley Gilbreath.
Gosh, where to begin? Let's see. Like you said, I have three children, 9, 6, and a 3-year-old. Been married for about 14 years, and we've been in Montgomery for just that long. I've always loved interior design, and it's a passion, and it's awesome to be able to watch people's lives change in a good way because of impacts that you've made. So I could tell you a lot more, but that's the quick gist of it.
Well, let's hear a lot more. So as far as you, like, how did you get into the interior design world? I mean, most people that are interior designers, they kind of grow up into it, you have that passion as you're younger, looking at magazines, so on. So what about yourself?
Very similar. I thought that I would go into architecture. Honestly, didn't know there was a field for interior design when I was younger. I went to Auburn because they had a great architecture program.
Mm-hmm.
Started out there. I was there for 2 years, and I kept on wondering why no one ever talked about the inside yet. Why are we still talking about roof lines and the exterior? Like, what happens? I wanted to know how the daylight came in the window. Like, what happens on the inside? So switched gears when I figured out there was an interiors program. And so I jumped over to interiors at Auburn and graduated there. But I think the whole passion for it really started as a kid. My sister and I have a younger sister, and we would playing as a child. She would be the mom, and I would go to work, and I'd go draw house plans. So it's something that I didn't even know was really something you could do, but I just had fun. It's like working a puzzle. Kind of put the pieces and parts together. And so I would do that, and she would take care of the baby dolls, and then that was it. So and our real life is still very similar. She still takes care of the babies, and I still work a whole lot. So.
So you growing up, and I mean, you leading into that too. I mean, it was kind of similar with me and my story when I was younger too. I used to build stuff like constantly all the time. You never really realize that you're going to be involved in the businesses that you are.
Absolutely.
And it kind of takes shape because you have a true passion for it, and you can see it in your designs too, because your designs are amazing. People should definitely check them out too. So let's discuss your business a little bit. How did your company start? And we got into why you chose the interior designer space. So what was your reason for starting your business?
I worked in New York, and I worked in Atlanta before I got married. And
Okay.
I moved to Montgomery because my husband won the I make more money than you do game. So I lost that challenge. And so I came here kicking and screaming for the first little bit. And there are some wonderful people in this town, and there is lots of good kind of decorator stores. And I worked there at one that I still adore for a little while. But I just wanted a little bit more than that. And so I have a husband who is totally unafraid of a challenge. And he's very encouraging and just said, go do it. If you can do it and do it differently, go do it. And I thought, oh my gosh, you really think I can? Like, no way. And yeah, just go do it. His comment was always, we are young enough that if we fall flat on our face, we'll get back up.
Good for him.
I think the tune has changed now. That's probably not the best advice now. I've got 3 little people to support. But at the time, we didn't have any children. And it was like, do it. Just go do it. Give it a shot and try. So we did. We did. And I think it works to our benefit a little bit because a lot of people think they want to go do their. It takes a minute to build a good foundation for it. So thanks to a super encouraging husband, here we are.
That's awesome. And it's good that you have somebody in your corner like that too, because, that pushed you to kind of do what you really wanted to do and your dream and your passion of interior design. And obviously you're at where you're at,
Yeah.
because you got that support system too, which is big because a lot of people don't have that too. So that's awesome to hear. So good for you and good for him too. He
Yeah,
sounds like a great
great.
guy to
I'm not,
motivate you.
he's
So.
a good one. He's a good. I'm not sure I did as well for him, but he's a good one.
That's awesome. So let's dive into your processes a little bit. Because as you know, this is kind of more about delivering as much value to the customer as possible, but also a lot of business people do listen to this, a lot of builders, a lot of designers, and so on. Um, I want to start out talking about your process and how it's done. What should potential customers look for when hiring an interior designer?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
I think it's something that you want to make sure that someone's listening,
Hmm.
and you want to make sure that the designer is capable of altering their look a little bit. I've always been very drawn to specific designers that have a specific look because it's very easy to pick them out as you're flipping through a magazine. Oh, that's so and so's design. But I had a much older, more seasoned designer tell me a long time ago, and she said, do you think that designer designed for that client or designed for herself?
Uh,
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right on. So I think look for some versatility in their work because you want to make sure that they're listening and that they are capable of doing something other than just what they like and other than just what they know. And so we try to be, I kind of joke and say it's like dressing a 2-year-old because I'm very accustomed to that in my house. And, you give them 3 really good options that have a little bit of versatility and that they can pick what they like the best, but you're still in control of the end result. You're still certain that the end result is going to look really well put together, but you're giving them a couple options to choose from. So I think a good listener, and then making sure that you're seeing someone that executes the process all the way through, from the beginning to the very, very end. Those 2 things I think would be, gosh, I could go on. Quick follow up, good communication.
no,
Um,
yeah, you could go right ahead too.
I
Yeah.
think all of those things play a big role in this. We're in the luxury industry, and the client should feel like that. It shouldn't be, it needs to be a quick response time and which we're not always wonderful at because there's a lot going on, but we try to be
Mhm.
just good communication in general. As you know, you cannot build a house if you can't communicate well.
Oh yeah.
So you have to be in constant communication, good note taking skills, keeping everybody in the loop. There's a ton of stuff that goes into it, but I think the biggest thing is making sure that someone's listening and that all expectations are set up in the very beginning. We try very hard to make sure that we have very thorough conversations before we ever even sign a contract with a client, that we know exactly what our budget is, exactly what our priorities are, and we ask them to pull about 5 to 10 images of spaces that they like so that we have a hardcore visual that we keep at the top of their board the whole project, just to make sure that we're nailing their look, that we're following their interest.
Yeah, and you nailed it on the head right there. Is the expectations, putting them out there up front is huge. And I've
Like
talked to
marriage. It's like
yeah.
it is, you got to make sure everybody knows what they're getting into. And
Mhm.
we're being thoughtful and being considerate and going from there.
Yeah, because it's such a big process too. I mean,
It's a
and
very good
you are kind of, you're the guide that you're holding their hand throughout that process. And that's why I have you on too, because not a lot of people do know how much you guys as interior designers go through. I mean,
process.
you being so passionate about it too, it's a lot of work.
It's,
And you have to, it's somebody's home in the end. I mean, that's the place they're going to spend the most time in. And
sure.
you want to put that touch on it, and have your touch too. They're hiring you for a reason because they like your design styles and ideas and so on. But that's where I get into my next thing. Do you welcome client involvement throughout the process?
Oh, we have to. Yes, we
Yeah.
want to. It's their home. We've said always there is not a piece of furniture, or a thought that we cannot incorporate and make it look good. We just
Mhm.
have to think of, put them all into context and make sure it works. I mean, if you have your great grandmother's buffet that you really just don't want to use, but you kind of have to, we can make it look good. We can figure out a way. They're going to build their memories. So we totally, we welcome any and all input. That's what we're here for. We're here to be their guide to take their visions and make it into reality. So yeah, we want them to talk big time. If they don't talk, then they're going to end up with the look that they want.
Yeah, or you get an open canvas, right? And then you get to do it
Well, now don't get me wrong, I love an open canvas too, but but I need to make sure that we're designing, really for them. So we need them to voice their opinion a little bit. We have had that occasional project where they've said, "This is our budget. This is kind of the look that we like. Here's 6 months. We're going to town this weekend. Can you come install the whole house?" And we are like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And it was fabulous. It was a ton of fun. It got shot. It was pretty. It was published. It was great, and they loved it. But those clients don't happen very often.
Yeah, I've said this before. I had another interior designer on my show, and I said I'd be that open canvas because I'd let you have at it.
You just have to trust a lot. It's a lot of trust, and that's a great thing. It's awesome. But I will say, on our side, we enjoy the relationship. We kind of get sad when projects end because we're like, oh my gosh, we're not going to talk to you 3 times a week anymore. Don't you need our help with like your attic or something else? Because we're not going to have a reason to talk to you all the time. So
Yeah.
it's not like we're giving them like your firstborn child after like raising them for 2 years. It's a good chunk of time and a good relationship that you don't really want. It's not that it ends, but it doesn't continue in the same way.
Yeah, and it's maintaining the long-term relationship too, but also, like you said, another big topic you said is the communication.
Mhm.
It's so big. I mean, you are that guide, like I said earlier, that you're constantly in communication with these people, even if it's an open canvas or you're with, guiding them through what they want. It's big, and that's you have to constantly be on it because all the processes, all the stuff. I mean, you're basically building a house. I mean, and not a lot of people understand that. That's why I have so much respect for you guys because the designers that I've teamed up with. I mean, I've dealt with bad designers. I've dealt with really good ones. You see a big difference, and you see the ones that are truly passionate in what they do. And you guys have to hold the whole foundation down, because you're
it's
that.
so nice to hear somebody catch on. Yeah. Yes, we do. But you guys do as well. Y'all are obviously the biggest part of it. It goes both ways, but it requires a good working relationship and a lot of just communication.
Yep. And you guys are the key to it all. So
great. Thank you. We can't do it without y'all. So
exactly.
It's a good process.
Yeah. So you've said bringing family together is the reason you design homes. So, it sets the stage for memories. Can you explain this and how are you doing this?
You've done your research. I'm impressed. It's, it kind of speaks to my heart. If you think back to the things that you enjoy as a child, you have some pretty vivid memories in there of maybe being at your grandparents' house or being at the lake as growing up, or, whatever it may be, where your happy spot is. And a lot of us don't realize that we try to replicate that moving forward. And it's not so much that we have a wonderful client who, it was one of our most favorite jobs. And she wanted to reproduce her grandmother's avocado colored range because from the 60s and 70s, that's what she remembers, and probably 50s and 60s, honestly.
Yeah,
that's what she remembered. That was her happy moment. Those were her good times. That was her little happy spot. And I remember being like, oh, okay, Michelle, I don't think we can pull off. I mean, we could if you really wanted to. You're kind of marrying yourself to a particular color range, but maybe let's look at some other options that still look old, but maybe aren't avocado, But nothing's wrong with that color. It's a good color, but it just, it's a little bit more difficult to work around sometimes. So, but that was her happy spot. So I think if we can take into context that we are molding, families' memories forever. And that's what's passed down. That's the tradition. It's the happy spot. It kind of puts a lot of emphasis on what you do and what I did. I mean, we're creating that environment. We're creating that atmosphere where memories are going to be made, whether they're good ones or they're not so good ones or whatever it may be. It's a place of comfort, and it's what these children are going to remember. It's what these parents are going to take with them forever. There's a good part of it needs to look like what they want it to look like. It needs to feel the way that they want it to feel, because it digs into something deep. I mean, it digs into your emotions and your memories, and it's a sense of love that it's wrapped in. And so to be able to reproduce something like that, or something that they can take with them, I mean, it's an honor. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
I mean, that's that right there. I mean, that's right there what you just said. I could see your passion behind it too, big time. I mean, that's you're truly our passion, and that's amazing. Because, I mean, growing up, I mean, even us as kids too. I mean, you still remember like the first house you were in. You
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
growing up as a
Yeah.
kid, you like with me, I remember the fireplace. I remember
Yeah.
certain aspects about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you just said is spot on. I mean, you are creating those memories,
Yeah.
you know, for a long, long time for a lot of people too. So that's pretty
Yeah. Like
amazing.
how you remember Christmas, how you remember Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
just those sentimental things that you can't replace. You can't, um, it's just, it's a feel good.
Hmm.
So it's pretty cool to get to, and, I mean, I've got 3 children. So it's important to me that when I wake up, I remember, you know what, I did that nursery exactly like I pictured it. Because you don't do it again. You don't get a second chance at this. So at some point they get out of that crib and I'm not having it anymore. So no, I'm not doing, I mean, yes, I'm doing it for them. They want to have a sweet room, but these are my memories too.
Hmm.
And I want to think that, gosh, when I got to have, that baby, this is what it looked like, and this is what it felt like, and this is where our Christmas tree was, and that's all you get. You can't take any of the stuff with you. You just get those little memories left, and that's what life's built around. So
Hmm.
we get to be a part of that. Then I think we've like won the lottery. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and then you getting the satisfaction of helping these people
Oh
create
my
the
gosh,
memories
it's
too.
the best feeling in the world. Yeah, that's awesome.
Hmm. And that's how, I mean, that just shows true, like how much you care too. Cause I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that's why I wanted you on. That's why I'm having a person like you on this show too, just because you do truly care and you do truly have a passion for what you do in your career too. And it shows. I mean, that answer right there was awesome.
No, you're
So
sweet. Thank you. It's
good.
making people happy. It's seeing joy on people's faces. That's what it's about. That's what it's
Hmm. Exactly. So getting into the building, and like we talked about, we both know how important the designer's role is in the build process. You handle so much more than people even realize. You truly are the leader in the process and have to guide everyone from start to finish. What are you personally doing to make this process go smoother with everyone, as far as the architect, the builder, the client? Because I mean, you are, like I said, the center of everything. You're communicating with us, you're communicating with the architect, you're communicating with the client.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
You're, you guys have a very big role in this as well. So don't
Yes,
mind yours.
yes.
But it's funny. We come at this typically as we're almost a group of just women. We have a couple of sweet guys in here that help us out too. But we have to be very respectful because we don't ever want to step on anybody's toes.
Mhm.
Often the architect, has a lot of passion in what he's put forward. And you guys are trying to produce it the best way you can, as
Mhm.
quickly as you can, and keep the client happy at a good price point. And we're here to make sure that the interiors talk to the outside and talk to the client. And I've given you all the details you need to build, that kind of thing. So I think when we come into a job, typically we have some architects that we've worked with in the past. That's great, but our jobs are kind of all over the country.
Mhm.
So we generally have a new builder. I think we might have gotten to work with the same builder. I can think of one project where we sent builder twice, which is always great because you already have that relationship. But
Yeah.
you have to kind of learn. Just it's like a new friendship. You're learning their quirks and how they work and how well they communicate, how well they don't communicate, and where client expectations are. And I mean, just recently on a project, we have a client going, "Oh my gosh, why is it taking so long?" And the builder's got questions, and the builder's emailing everybody, and nobody's answering. I was like, "Okay, I'm going to play in charge here for a moment." I said, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm not trying to make anybody comfortable. It's not totally me that needs to say, hey, listen to me. But we got to start having a weekly conference call, because if nobody else is going to call it, I'm going to call it, because
Mhm.
you as the client want this to go quicker, and it should be going quicker and a little bit more quickly, and it just needs to happen. So we just, sometimes we have to just kind of say, hey, not trying to, take anything away from an architect ego. Not that they all have some. Some of them should have one. They're good at that. Or not to upset a builder and make sure that he thinks that we're trying to take over, because we're not. We're just trying to make sure everybody's happy. And
Mhm.
coming into the scene sometimes, being a female, and we get the blonde hair jokes often because we often have a lot of blonde heads in here. They kind of, okay, who are you? What kind of design are you doing? But I think they figure out pretty quickly that we have our stuff together and we're very organized, and we're here, product and selections ready before you ever even need them. And so that, as long as we know a schedule from the builder, then we can knock it out and be on time and be ready to go. But if we don't communicate, then
Mhm.
We don't have a schedule. We don't know what we're doing. So I think we carry a good bit of value when we can just say, hey, this is how, we know how to work, and we're here to help everybody. We're here to make this easy and fast. And if that requires us being the secretary, then we can do that because we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
If that requires us, making site visits once a month, we can do that too. We just need to know what's expected up front. I often tell clients, we bill a multitude of ways. And as silly as it sounds, if we're doing a ground up construction or a renovation project before we ever even get to furniture, that's a whole nother ballgame. If we do just the building process, your hourly fee or your square footage fee really depends on who your team is. And so I know that sounds kind of silly, but we need to see your plans. I need to know who your architect is, maybe talk to him and see what level of detail he's planning on providing. Is he going to give you an electrical plan? Is he going to give you cabinet elevations? Is he going to elevate, your interior walls that are focal points? How much work is he going to give you? And then I need to talk to your builder too and make sure he's got a really good project manager that's on site. How often does he plan to be there? And is he cool with me talking to his cabinet guy, or do I need to go through him directly? Just all those logistical questions start to add up very quickly. And often where a client thinks that they may cut a corner and use a less expensive builder, our fee goes up because that means we're now secretary. We're now handling a lot of the job, which is fine. We're capable of it and we're happy to do it, but we just need to know coming into it how much time it's going to take. So,
yeah, and it's setting that expectation.
It is all a team. It is a big team, and the second that one of those team members kind of falls short, it doesn't work out as well as it should. So, as it takes all three of us to communicate very well with the client too, and then we can produce a really good product.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's such a huge process too, but it's like you said earlier, it's definitely setting that expectation with the builder right off the bat too, because if you tell them, okay, here's how I'm going to handle it, I'm going to do this walkthrough, because that's the thing with architects, and architects are great, but something on paper is different than reality. And I always say that too. So you're walking on site. Most architects don't even go on site. They never see what they draw.
Yeah.
And so when you're and that's where you come in and we come in too, is we're walking through, we got to make sure there's LED can lights in certain areas, or if you have art, going on the wall, you need lighting for that, or
blocking behind there, or any of those kind of things. Yeah. You have to, I tell clients often, we need to start this process with you when it's on paper.
Yeah.
Not after it's sheetrocked, because you're going to be paying to redo, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you can, it's just, if you can be thoughtful about it, then it works well.
Yeah. And that's where you benefit too, is because you obviously knowing the construction process, and then knowing the plans too. You can go through those plans prior, which is going to save them money because they're not cutting through the drywall and
Absolutely. Yes.
So having somebody knowledgeable like yourself too, and then the communication, like you said, communication with everybody sitting down and saying, all right, here's what needs to happen with this, this, and this. Then we're going to build this, and then everything works a lot smoother. So,
and I think it helps clients too, especially those that don't maybe haven't ever done this before. It's funny, and I'm sure you've seen this often. They come to you and go, I want my paint color picked out today. I'm like, you haven't picked out your flooring.
Yeah.
You haven't picked out your tile. Like, paint is the last thing we get to in terms of selections, because it all plays together. So we try to lay out for them, hey, in this meeting, we're going to discuss these 5 things. And the next meeting, these are the next 3 things we discuss. So that they know, hey, we're going to talk about door hardware. It's coming. It's just not yet. Paint's coming. We're not forgetting it. It's going to happen. You just have to you're putting the cart before the horse. You've got to do it in an order. It's like building the foundation of a house. You're not going to pick out your windows before you pour the foundation.
Yeah.
So they sometimes just need to be enlightened on the process.
Yeah. Guided a lot.
A lot.
So as far as you've grown pretty fast over the past few years. Obviously you're all over the country now. What are you doing to stand out from the rest of the interior designers, let's say, in your area, and what should people take notice of when choosing an interior designer like yourself?
That's a loaded question here. All right, let's see. I think we're really open-minded. I don't know that we stand out any differently than anybody else. There's so many, and I love their personality. And I think if I could be in the client position, there's like 5 or 6 that I would choose just to come and help me for fun. So I don't know that we stand out necessarily in a specific way. I think we're we're eager to please. I think we're really easy to work with. Um, I tell every client when we hop on the phone with them, yes, we have a contract that we work from, but it is made as a set of guidelines to get us to a good result. Everyone's needs are so different, whether it's ground up construction or renovation or just furniture, or it's, hey, I need a powder bath, wall covering and flooring and a sink picked out real quick. We're capable of all of it. It's so we kind of mold our system to fit what they need. I'm probably too laid back to a fault. So I think with 3 children and a crazy husband, you have no choice but to be. But I think we may stand out in a little bit, and that just I think we're fun. I think we're fun, and it's easy. We care a lot, and we enjoy what we do. So I think that makes us a little bit different in terms of style. I think we're versatile. I think we're pretty versatile. I think, like I said, if you have an old piece or you want a more modern aesthetic, I think we can pull off just about any look really, really well. It just requires some extra thought. Now, I think in my spaces, particularly like from my own personal home, or you think you'll probably see them in a lot of client homes too, we really strive to make sure that the space is livable. We have 3 children and a dog and muddy shoes, and I like to drink coffee, and I like my glass of red wine at night, those kind of things. So we try to make sure that we're using performance fabrics or some antique pieces that are already beat up a little bit. So when my 3-year-old decides that she's going to color on that one too, then it's okay. You're going to beat it up a little bit anyway. And, I want people to walk into a home and have a hospitable environment and feel like they can sit down. And there's nothing worse than being able to tell your kids, don't go in that room, don't touch that, don't touch that. Like, they live here too. And at the moment, I'm outnumbered. So there's more of them than there are. So it's more their house than it is mine at the moment. I want you to be able to walk in and feel like it's a comfortable place, that you feel loved, and you feel like you could take your shoes off if you wanted to. And if you spilled your glass of red wine, guess what? It's a slipcover or it's a treated fabric, and it's not the end of the world. There's nothing worse in my book than fussing at a baby or fussing at somebody because something happened. I mean, I'm the one capable of spilling my coffee more than anybody else, So you get this one time, There's just no sense in fussing about things. Yeah. And there's no sense in being uptight about stuff. Now, yes, we can produce a very formal environment if that's what you want, but I don't know who's going to want to go sit in there. So I think we're different in that matter. We provide very livable spaces, I hope. And hopefully we're fun to work with, and we have good relationships.
Well, see, what I just keyed in on there too is that you actually listen and you ask the right questions, which is so important in any business too. I mean, but you're asking, do you have the kids? Do you drink coffee? Do you, the wine, do you like a glass of red wine at night? You asking those initial questions, which not a lot of people would, is what sets you apart too. That's huge.
What's big? You got to live in there. I want to know at night when you go to watch TV, do you have all 3 kids in your lap? Like, what's the dynamic? Where does dad sit? How does he like to lay down and watch TV? What needs to go in your nightstand? You have tons of magazines that are like I do, that are stacked on the floor because I haven't read them yet. Those kind of things. How do you live? Where do you drop your keys when you walk in the door? We're doing this for the client. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. So I got to know how you want to function in here. And we can be as overly detailed as you want us to be, or we can just make it look pretty, either way. But if we're doing it, let's do it intentionally.
See, that's just like you said. It's like in any business too. Like, I do real estate also, and it's like your initial consultation, not a lot of realtors ask the right questions. Even in building too, not a lot of builders ask the right questions of what exactly are you looking for, and then they go back and forth on plans for more than it should be, instead of listening.
Sure.
And listening to the customer. They do what they want, or the realtor, and they'll take them to 12 houses instead of the 2 that they should just narrow it down to. And by the end, people, the person's seeing stars, they don't even remember what houses they looked at.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, so, you nailed it.
That's huge. I always discuss quality with everybody on my show, no matter what business you're in. I've interviewed AC guys, I've interviewed other interior designers, builders, insurance people. I've interviewed a lot of different people, but quality does matter, as we know. You cannot cut corners. What materials are you using, or things are you doing to stand out from the rest of the competition? Is there certain furniture you use? Is there certain other materials that are better that you're thinking, or?
I think it's all about just being knowledgeable, about knowing whether in the building process, there's now a treatment you can put on marble that keeps it from staining.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing about performance fabrics that some clients don't have any clue that you can actually put Sharpie on something and get it out with water, those kind of things. So I think it's a lot of it's being knowledgeable about what's available, and being able to guide them towards their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So that, which gives them a better quality. So we have a multitude of lines that we pull from. I often tell people, when we're playing the budget game for furniture purposes, we don't have to have the top of the line everything. You can pull a counter stool that might cost you $400, but get a sofa that costs about $6,000. You can mix a little bit because it helps bring the formality down, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's a little bit more comfortable space. And I'm not above, a Target pillow if we need to go there for a minute. We can totally pull that off. Now we might need to put a better one next to it just to bring that one up a little bit, but nothing's wrong with that. It's okay. This is real life. You can mix it up a little bit. So I think quality, as long as everyone goes into it knowing, hey, this is a lesser grade thing. It's a small accessory. If you get tired of it in 2 years, put it in the trash can.
Yeah.
We try to make sure that your bigger investment pieces, if you're buying a sofa or an armoire or, a larger ticket item, that those pieces will last you a good long time. And two, and what you cover them in, that it's just kind of generally neutral. It's not, I'm not going to give you a lime green sofa that you're going to get tired of lime green in 3 weeks. Maybe a lime green pillow that you can chunk if you want to later on. But we try to keep the decisions timeless, which is a little different than quality, but I think it lasts you a longer time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's tons of lines we pull from. Like I said, I love antique pieces because you can live on them.
Yeah.
And if it gets dinged up a little bit, it's okay. And you can put an old piece next to a lucite piece, and you're mixing a little bit of modern today with an acknowledgement of the past, and make it work. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. You don't have to have all of one or all of the other. I think spaces stay more timeless when you can mix a little bit of a trendy with a little bit of an acknowledgement of the past, and still have a slip-covered sofa and be very livable. It works
Mm-hmm.
all the way around. So I think I'm not necessarily nailing quality, but I think
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying.
the level of which you
Mm-hmm.
design something helps it last longer.
Well, because it's quality in interior design could be that timeless feel, because then you're not disposing of something within 2 years because
Right.
enough something else came in trendy and stuff. If you set that timeless design that they're gonna have in that home for that'll be timeless, and it stays with the trends and so on.
Mhm.
That's you giving them the quality of your design too. It makes a lot of sense, even if it's a Target pillow.
Yeah, even if, and nothing's wrong with Target. We love some Target, but every now and then you can mix a little bit of a great inexpensive find with something that's really classic still.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's great. So the big question here, let's talk design trends. So what are your current trends, and where do you see design going in the future?
That's a loaded question too. Let's see. I think this is such a cliche answer. I think we try to acknowledge them in
Mm-hmm.
anything that we do. I mean, what the new color is, or what the new, the kind of the new mid-century modern look is, or whatever it may be. And I think you always want to introduce something that's on trend into a space so that it feels very current.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said a minute ago, you need to really kind of acknowledge the flip side too. So when that trend is over with, you're not going, well, okay, that's out now. Let's just get rid
That
of this,
timeless.
start over again, kind of thing. So for us, I think, we love, it's hard for even me to do my own house sometimes because we're exposed to so many different fun things that I'm probably my own worst client, because it's difficult to, it's difficult to keep me very content with the same thing. So,
Yeah.
but I think we pay a lot of attention to what the new color is, and what the new, fun lighting details are. Just great new lines. I don't know. There's a specific thing I would gravitate towards, because we kind of run the gamut on all of it.
What's the color? What's the color right now?
I think the color this past year was more of like a coral tone,
Okay.
and that's great. It's great, but
Mm-hmm.
we try to use it in small amounts for the same reason. I mean, this is going to sound silly, but we just finished a beach house down in St. George Island, and we are reframing some of it to just bring more current. And all of the matting is like a navy blue and a peachy color from straight out
Hmm.
of 1982. And the art's great, but just don't frame it out in something that is so specific. Like I said, put that in smaller details. So, um, we I don't want to sound like we're not on trend, because I feel like we acknowledge it, but we try not to be married.
No, it's like you said, as you try and lean, a good designer leans towards that timeless look. So you're gonna hit the trends here and there,
Mhm.
like you're saying, but you're also gonna give your timeless effect into it, so it's not totally trendy.
Yeah.
You know,
I hate to think that you're going to spend, $10,000 on a great, really funky whatever piece, and then in 2 years you're like, why did I do that?
yeah.
So if we can put in the smaller things, if you want to get rid of them, get rid of them. It's not a big deal.
Hmm.
But your bigger pieces need to stay a little bit more classic.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So as far as let's say cabinets, what are you seeing as far as the trend in that right now? White,
Mm.
bright white.
I think I think that's a given. That's always a classic one. I'd love to see clients be a little bit more creative there. This is
Hmm.
lovely, but it's just paint. It's just paint.
Yeah.
Change it. You can change it. So if we can offset an island a little bit, or offset, um, I love a little reeded detail. I think it's all in the details, and those
Hmm.
details, in my opinion, stay classic no matter what. It's just being intentional with how things are placed. So whether the upper drawers have more of a flat panel and the bottom ones have, nice little beaded detail around them, or I love the reeded look. How you're designing an island is fun. I love the
Hmm.
waterfall edges of countertops in specific situations are always just a little different way of doing stone. Um, I could go on and on and on. I love marking up cabinet elevations, because you get to be really creative.
Hmm.
Put it
As,
apart.
as far as flooring, let's go into that one. What are you seeing more of I know the natural stones were there for a little bit, but now you can do so many man-made stones and stuff,
Yeah.
or man-made, I shouldn't say stones, but man-made floor material that, I've seen that. And I mean, because where we're at now, we're kind of seeing, I mean, it's been very kind of coastal kind of look down here. Obviously, we're on
Sure.
an island, beachy, people like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
blues, greens,
Yeah.
neutral tone, and now we're seeing it's kind of shifting into that coastal contemporary look, contemporary clean lines inside. I mean, we're doing a model home now, that, we have the cloud ceilings with the LED
Yeah.
lighting going through the ceilings. The cabinets are kind of have a sheen to them. They're flat, but white in the back, and then a brown eye, big giant brown eye, lots of quartz.
Yeah.
Um,
That's great.
that's pretty into. So, what do you see as far as flooring? What are you seeing in that trend?
We kind of run the gamut there too. We love pavers. Love
Hmm.
pavers for sure. Obviously, always love a good wood floor.
Hmm.
Can't go wrong there, no matter what. We even put them in bathrooms often, and
Hmm.
it stays very timeless. Um, I think I tend to lean more towards the old school subway is always great. It's been around for a
Hmm.
million years. It's going to be around for a million more years.
Hmm.
A little over the shiplap look. I think that runs for, I think
HGTV special.
oh my gosh. Don't get me wrong, it had its time, but I think it's a little over. I
Hmm.
think in certain applications it can still be, plank ceiling can still be pretty, those kind of things. But I think it's gonna be one of those, fads that everyone's like, oh my gosh, get it out of here in about
Hmm.
5 years. So um, love pavers, love little penny rounds are always fun. I love the old school hex, love a marble. We just did a house with a great marble hex floor, which is beautiful.
That's
Not a
nice.
huge fan of like the wood look-alike tile,
Yeah.
because it's a look-alike. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be fun in the right application, but I think if you're trying to create
It
something that you're not going to change later on, or it's not going to go out of style, let's just do the real deal.
Yeah, because some of it does look real. It just depends. I mean, you have to spend more money to get the real wood look.
And there's plenty of wood out there that is so overly treated
Yeah.
it can withstand a hurricane, and your house having floodwaters up to like 3 feet, and the wood's still going to be okay, and it's real wood.
Hmm.
So there's lots of ways. I think it's just the knowledge of knowing the products, knowing what you can get, knowing what the
Hmm.
price point is, and going from there.
Yeah, exactly. As far as future, what are you seeing? What are you thinking?
Take a nap. I don't know.
As far as the future trends,
Future trends. Let's see.
where do you see design going in, let's say, the next 5 years?
I think it's I think it's getting a little bit more streamlined. I think it's getting a little bit more straight line, a little bit more, I don't think modern is the correct word for it, but a little bit more,
Mid-century modern.
I think a little bit. I think it's a bigger, I think it comes back around always. I think there's
Yeah.
a different take on it. Yeah, exactly. But the clean lines, I think, are becoming a little bit more popular for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think color's coming back in a really, really big way too, which is so fun to see. I think
Yeah,
people
that's
are
what I
becoming
like.
a bit more, less conservative with the amount of color they spend, put towards their house. And so I think color's coming back in a good way. We prefer to see it mostly in paint because it's something that you're not tearing up a floor to reproduce
Mm.
later on. And it gives us the opportunity to do, a real cool base mold or a real cool, trim out the windows in different color. It allows us to be creative and intentional and impactful with paint, which is really
Awesome. So big question here, and I know you kind of shift, you said time, you go with timeless things and so on, and you kind of go with different, you can make everything work. I mean, that's what a good interior designer does. But what about you? What elements define your style? And
fun.
where do you find your inspiration in interior design?
I love, I think if you can travel,
Mm-hmm.
When you travel, you come home with a whole different appreciation for what you're exposed to daily. Um, we've done a couple shopping trips in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and even if we went over there and came back with nothing, the visual inspiration is enough that
Mm-hmm.
justifies the expense. I think it's being exposed to different ways people have done things and acknowledging the past. It all comes back around.
Yeah.
Be able to appreciate different metals, different textures, different ways that people have incorporated, whether it's a driveway detail or it's a front door knocker, all the fun, a great shutter. The things in Europe have been around for a gazillion years, a lot longer than they have been in America, obviously, and they still look really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would encourage anybody, just for inspiration purposes, to get out of the norm and open your eyes to some great architecture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the stuff you're seeing there is now just coming over here, which is kind of unbelievable.
Mhm. Well, but it's
Unbelievable.
been over there too for so long. We
Yeah,
try to reproduce their 1600s, beams in their ceiling. Yes, we can make it look similar, but you can't be the real deal. You just
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, talking about like how it all circles back around, I've said this before. It's just funny to me how, like I always say this, back in the 90s, my dad had like brass faucets and he took them off the sink, I think 2000 something or whatever, when the trench, but he kept them. And I was like, why are you keeping, he's like, oh, it'll come back around. And I never believed him. And then it came back in style. I don't know how long ago that was, but, and he said it, he goes, told you. And I was like, please don't put those back on. But it's just funny because,
It
it
does.
does circle, everything circles back around. We got chrome, then you go to the brass, and then you go, it's funny how it all works out.
And people have their mental, minds made up of certain trends. Like it's funny, I was trying to tell my mom to put a grass cloth in her foyer, several years ago. She was like, that is so out. I could never do that. That was in the 60s. That is not cool. And I'm like, no, you just think it's not cool anymore, but it's back. It's back.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got her mind made up that was so out. And so it goes back to those memories. You remember, hey, that was way back then. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing that now, but it does. It all comes back around. It does.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Keeping it timeless is important.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely important.
Big time, like you said. So what do you find most challenging about designing a home?
Let me be really honest.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it's the we have a difficult.
Is it the customers? Is it
We have to. It's my husband's job is so not easy, but his business model is 1 + 1 = 2. It's
Mhm,
very easy to explain.
mhm,
Ours is here's some pictures. Do you like me as a person? I'm going to listen to you. I promise you'll produce what you like.
mhm,
It might take it a year to get built, and then we'll do furniture in it. So, what's your budget? Great. Now give me at least half of that now, and I'll produce what you can't see in your mind because you can't visualize it yet as the client,
mhm.
but I can. And I promise you will produce it in a year to 2 years, whatever our timeline for this process. We do a lot of making sure everybody's happy and everybody's okay, and that It's going to be beautiful, and we're answering, every concerned question. So I wish we could just say, hey, it is such an easy business model. This is so
Yeah.
clean and clear, and say, this is it. But there's a lot of coddling, which we enjoy. I mean, it's part of the process, and we enjoy the relationship. But it would be so easy if I could say, this is what it's going to look like in exactly 2 years when you're done with the architect and building it and having it furnished and it's done. This is it. But it's not.
No, no,
It's
because it's
creativity, and it's, it changes proportion and scale and balance, all the things that you can't relay in an image. You can't relay. We'll do our best to explain it to them, but there's so much trust there that at some point they just have to kind of let go. And that's difficult to do. And it's difficult to do for some particular clients more than others. Um,
yeah, because I mean it's such a big investment too, but they have done
yeah.
in.
And I would say the best projects, ones that have turned out the best, are those the client has just released control.
Mm-hmm.
The client is the happiest. The job looks the best. It's the job that gets published, or the clients that just say, okay, I trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if for some crazy reason we get it installed and they're not over the moon excited about it, we will change it. We will get it right. But it's the go-between back and forth that begins to limit creativity, which limits the reason why they hired us to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
because of the process. I mean, it's like we talked about. It's a tough process. I mean, you being there, it's a home. I mean, building a home it's not just like you're buying buying a car can be a process too. But I mean, this is a house, so I mean,
Absolutely.
there's so many different things and elements that go into it, and that's why where you come in is you have to pull all that together. I mean, in I don't know how many rooms. I mean, that's what's crazy about it too. It's not just one room. It's
It's a whole
every
thing.
room, and every room is different too. And that's the thing. I got to pull this color and this color into this because the carpet's this or this, the bed
When
is
they
this.
the rooms function differently, they all
Hmm.
have a different purpose. So, whether you're designing for an 8-year-old little boy or, a 65-year-old couple, it makes, they have different needs. So
Hmm.
it's a very big trust thing, a very big trust thing. And a struggle that we have often is trying to figure out who's wearing what hat. The client may want to go purchase their, you know, 10 things that they want to go purchase. And that's great, but I can't design around the room until I know what that piece is.
Hmm.
So you've got to be on a schedule of, you're going to execute this by this date. And because we can't start, because it all plays together. I often tell clients it's like getting dressed to go to the prom. Like, you're not going to pick out your dress last. You
Yeah.
pick it first, and then you pick out your shoes, and then you pick out your jewelry, and then you figure out how you wear your hair, and then you pick out you pick out your lipstick color. But you don't start with your shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do, it makes a much more difficult process.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do it. You can't install halfway, because you can't put an old sofa in a new room. It looks worse than the old room looked, all put together. So anyway, it's about scheduling and expectations and knowing really what comes first and how to build the space around it.
Yeah, and there's that key word right there, expectations, setting them up front too. Because I'm so big on that too. Because in the building industry, I have to be. I mean, we have to. In me doing real estate, when I find somebody a lot to build
Mhm.
on, I set the expectation right there, and I
Yeah.
tell them, well, this one's low on dirt. This one needs a new seawall. This one
Yeah.
and you set it there, and then you go to the building process. All right, this is what's going to happen here
Mhm.
because we do pilings down here, so you're going to have to drive pilings. It could be a cost here. So it's just, if you let them know ahead of hand, there's no arguments later on. It's less
Damage
headache.
control.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes for everybody to be happy at the end.
Hmm.
I've told every client I don't like surprises, good ones or bad
Yeah.
ones. So let's lay this all out on the table up front. And if we don't, if we're not the perfect fit for you, that's okay. We don't have
Hmm.
to be. We are a full service team. And if you don't see a value in that in the beginning to the end, then that is perfectly fine. We've
Hmm.
got people to do, and that's okay. We can find someone else that you might like instead of us, which is cool too. But we take it from the very beginning to the very end, because that's the only way that we can ensure that it's executed the way that you want it to be executed. If we're at a 50% mark, then I cannot tell you in our beginning conversations that your expectations are going to come, be proven correct.
Hmm.
Unless we get to carry this from the very beginning to the very, very end, I don't know how it's going to turn out. So we kind of say, we're happy to play with you. We always want to work with new fun people. But if we don't do it this way, we're setting ourselves up for disaster. So you've got to kind of lay it out a little bit, and
Yeah.
then you can make sure that it's damage control. It's expectation. That's it.
Well,
I want to
it's
make sure that at the end of this, we're all still have a good time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I always say this too, is we're not meant to work with everybody, even though in business we all want to, and we want every customer and we want, to help everybody we can, but you're not going to get everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, the people, that's what I've gotten better at too. I've actually learned this from one of my mentors is even if you don't work with that person, still, after the initial meeting, say they go with somebody else, even if they go with another builder with me, I'll still handwrite them a letter, and I'll still
Yeah.
send them the letter saying, hey, thank you for your time. I wish you the best in your construction. If you need
Absolutely.
anything, give me a call. I'm still here to help any way I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way, because if they have that bad experience with that other designer or builder or realtor,
Yeah.
who are they going to recommend, or who are
Sure.
that's just future and playing the long term too,
And
which
at the
is
end of the
huge.
day, I think, in your industry and in ours, we're here to make it better for them. And that's our
Hmm.
goal. We're here to make this a good process, produce something great.
Hmm.
And, whether they choose us or choose somebody else, we still want the best for that, for what they're after. We want the best
Hmm.
for them, totally. So, um, I think hospitality goes a long way, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, and that's why I started this podcast too, because I was kind of tired of them going based on price, or going with that bad builder or that other realtor that doesn't do anything, because it's bringing people on like you that actually care,
Yeah.
and bringing people together that actually care, and to teach these people that there is people that care. We may not be the cheapest, but we're not the most expensive, but we put in a lot of work to help you and guide you throughout these big processes.
Enjoy doing it. It's not, I've
Hmm.
told every client, it's not about the money. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, I have to feed 3 children, but
Yeah.
I've told people always, I would pay you to let me do this. I have so much fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it's so rewarding to see the client get excited about something and to think that you're building the space for them forever. And
Hmm.
that's payment enough for me most of the time. And then my husband reminds me that we have to eat too. But it's there's a joy that comes with it. And I don't know that you find that with everybody.
No.
Hopefully, I think that you do, but it's not about dollars and cents. We're to a point that we can pick and choose our clients as we want to, which is a wonderful place to be. And if we have that kind of, if they don't see a value in what we bring to the table, that's okay.
Hmm.
The next person might. So, um, hate it for them and hate it for us, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I've said that too. I've posted on my social media about it. When you do say it's not about the money, I mean, most people will roll their eyes, but if you do truly have a passion for what you do, which
Yeah.
everybody I've brought on this show, on my show here has, and I can tell with you truly do. It's not about the money. Yeah, the money's nice. Obviously we all have to make a living. Everybody does. But I'm doing what I do because I want to help people. I want to do it the right way and teach people what the right way is, just like you're doing. You want to help them, you want to guide them, you want to help. That's why you do what you do, to guide them through the process. It's a hard process that people don't really, they need to think deeper into it and research more into it too, because I mean, when times are good, we all know. I mean, it's just everybody gets into these businesses and becomes an interior designer, or they become a builder because they think they're going to make lots of money doing it, and it's just the inexperience and so on, and it ends up hurting a lot of people because they go with that cheaper builder, or so that's why I'm so passionate about this too, just like you are. So um going on that topic too, this is huge with me. Let's talk price, because no matter what industry you are in, it always comes up with customers. What should customers know up front when discussing price or pricing structure with an interior designer? And how do you prioritize when planning a budget with them?
Ooh, there's so many levels of it. We bill based for construction purposes. Typically, a quick, easy way to do it is by the square foot, and that price really ranges, like I was saying earlier, based off who the team is.
Hmm.
And I hate to kind of leave it that vague, but it is,
Yeah.
because it really depends on who are the team players with us, and then we can figure out how to kind of back into a price. For furniture purposes, um, it really depends on what the scope of work is. How much is that client bringing to the table in terms of, are we going through a whole storage room? Are we starting fresh? Do you have just a certain amount? It's how many vendors do we have to chase to get you the product that you need to get the look that you want to have? As silly as it sounds, but so it varies for everybody. We keep up with our time hourly because we have to make sure that we're justifying what we're doing. So I have lots of project managers in here that help me get my act together, make sure I'm doing my part of this correctly. And so we bill hourly. It ranges between 125 and 150 an hour typically, but like I said, I don't like surprises, good or bad. So we try to be able to give a client a pretty detailed view of what to expect based off of their scope of work before they ever totally execute the contract. But we don't know a lot of the information. There's not just a set, hey, we charge $10,000 for a living room. It's not quite that easy. I wish it was, but it's not. Sometimes a living room is one seating arrangement. Sometimes it's as big as 3. So it just depends on what we're playing with and how many pieces they're bringing to the table. And then for the construction side, it depends on kind of who the team is. A certain amount of square footage. I would say square footage prices could be as low on the construction side as about $5 a square foot, and as high as probably 15 a square foot, depending on what we're doing. How many bathrooms does this house have? How many tile elevations are we going to have to pull off? All those kind of things. So it's a very vague answer, but it often depends on what the scope of work is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it all depends too. And as far as like, I always go into this question too, how can you make, people choose you, over the cheaper person, because I'm so big on this too, because I deal with it all the time. It's a lot of work in what we do, and what you do and planning and so on. Yeah. Unfortunately, on the building side, when we're bidding a job, it's a ton of work, but they can go with the other guy that was cheaper.
Yeah,
so
and $2,000, not by much.
Yeah, exactly. So
we try to say, we try to say that we are very good at taking everyday materials, but helping a tile guy or the floor guy understand how to install them a touch differently. Okay. So it's not that we're specifying, don't get me wrong, we could specify fabulous materials too, and we do often. But if we need to play the budget game, there are tons of ways to do that. And we can narrow down a couple. Maybe we don't do a full backsplash in marble. Maybe we do a small one in a shelf and finish the rest up in tile. And there's lots of ways to be creative about it. It's not our way or the highway. We can totally be thoughtful and creative with it. It makes my job more fun. I mean, seriously, I get to figure out how to work this puzzle a little bit differently. So I think we're pretty good on our end about taking everyday materials and just installing them a little bit differently and making it a little bit more thoughtful and creative. I think that's something that is a value that we bring to the table for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, great answer. So moving along here, I always talk about customer service. So what things are you doing, that people should look for as far as customer service with an interior designer? You brushed on this a little bit, and then off of that too, how are you, let's say after you're done with your interior design, how are you maintaining the long-term relationships with people too, like continuing to stay in touch and so on with people after the transaction is over? Because we both know, I mean, in a lot of businesses, it's collect the check, see you later, never talk to them again. So how are you going about these two things? So let's start with customer service, and then we'll go into after the transaction's done.
We, even in the interview process in here, when we interview someone, a new employee, one of the most important things that they need to know is that this is a hospitality industry and it's a luxury industry. That communication is the number one role that you have here. Even if it's that, hey, I mean, I had a client yesterday, I was supposed to have furniture pricing to him. And I said, you know what? I've been at 2 kids' Halloween parties all day long today, and I'm not on top of it. I'm not forgetting you. Give me until noon tomorrow and I'll have it over. I'm just sorry. He's like, great. Thanks for letting me know. No big deal. But when you don't let them know and you've missed the deadline, then we're all in trouble. We all look like, we don't have our act together over here. So, I mean, it's such an easy word to say, but I really think communication is key. And as long as someone knows that you have thought of them and that you're on their project, yes, we have 30 other projects going on in here, but you are so important to us. And, we encourage in here that everyone gets an email once a week. Even if it's a product that's not installing for 6 more months and they've paid their deposit and we're ordering their stuff, they need to know, hey, we received your sofa today and it looks great. Just thinking about you. we're all friends with these people. So it's just making sure that they feel like they're taken care of. That's the biggest part of this. And it's just, it can be as simple as a text message or as simple as a quick
Yeah.
email. It just says, hey, we're on it. Just thinking about you. That's it. So communication, communication.
Yeah,
Communication.
big time.
Yeah.
What about as far as the long term? So after you're done with the design and everything, they're moved in. What are you
Yeah.
doing
We always
long
get so sad because we don't talk to them quite as often. But,
term?
I think it's just a quick, like, maybe we post their image on Instagram
Yeah.
or, whatever it may be. And we're like, sorry to miss this client. We're just, send them a quick text message, just, making sure that, all is well. We had a client the other day say, I got sunscreen on my leather chair and what do I do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called us just so that we get to talk to you for a little bit more, So I think it's just knowing that there's a relationship there. We often, we'll send them Christmas cards for sure. And there's a quick email every now and then, just, hey, just making sure, all's well with your son, just checking in, haven't talked to him in a little while, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of that.
Um, and then so do you do it like any kind of follow-up letters, birthdays, stuff like that with people too?
Yes. Because we're such fast friends with them. So we know when their birthday is. We know when their kid's birthday is.
Yeah,
When
that's
the dog's birthday is. Yes, we know all of that stuff.
Yeah,
So
plus the relationship with them that you have
yes,
throughout that
100%.
process.
Yes.
It's almost
And
becomes
I
like
will say, silly enough, Instagram and Facebook are such beautiful tools because you can really stay connected that way too, even if you're not talking to them daily. There's a
mhm.
great way just to still kind of know what's happening in their life and vice versa. So it's been helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Social media definitely helps. It's huge.
Yeah.
So most people don't ask this. I mean, most people just want to know about your past, and I'm big on kind of getting this. It could be a tough question here, but I want to know about your future. So the question I want to know is, what are your plans for the future? Kind of putting you on the spot here.
That's okay. That's
Whether
okay.
it's with business, life, where will you see yourself in the future? Who will you be?
Hopefully a really good mom, a really good wife.
Great answer.
Those are the first two things that I think that's what gets me into heaven here, is making sure I take care of my first priorities. But I would love to think that, we're about to start a little e-commerce thing. Nobody knows that yet. We're about to start a little online shop, which should be fun.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I don't think we're going to go anywhere. I think we're going to sit right here. I don't want to be a big, huge firm. I want to keep
Hmm.
it small and be very intentional. I'd love to have 5 to 6 jobs a year and that be it. So some of our smaller jobs we probably need to begin to say no to, just because I'd love to maintain. And I don't see us conquering the world. I don't want to. I want to be able to play mom and do what I'm supposed to do for a little bit. And then maybe after all children are gone, um, I still don't want to be big. I still want to be little. So I think that's, I mean, that doesn't sound like a very lofty goals here, but
No, it's
I want to pay attention to my people and
yeah,
be
that's good.
intentional with what we do over here. So I think we're in a good spot. I think our e-commerce stuff, our little online thing will be fun. It's a
Hmm.
little different spin on what we do every day. We opened a shop in the past down at Rosemary Beach. That little spot is a big part of my heart. And there's a good chance we do that again. We closed it for a moment because of just life in general.
Hmm.
That's said often. Between 3 babies and a husband and a shop and a interiors
That's a
business,
lot.
one of those balls was going to drop, and I think my husband thought it was about to be him. So I was like, okay, we're gonna close at the beach for a minute. So maybe that happens again in the future. There's been a little bit of talk about a book at some point, but Lord knows I don't have time for that right now. So who knows? I hope at the end of the day we're just doing what we do over here and doing it well, and we're all smiling and we're all enjoying coming to work. And I have little ones that are in a good spot, and a husband that still likes me. So we'll see. That doesn't sound very
No, that was
glamorous,
actually
but that's real life.
no, that was a really good answer. No, I mean it's happiness. I mean, if you're happy, the way you're working your business, helping 6 people a year and really focusing on, because there's only one of you. I mean, you can train people and do, add core values, everything into life and your business and everything, but they're still not you. And that's a thing. So that was a really good answer too.
Thank you.
Final question that I ask everybody: what exactly do people need to look for when hiring an interior designer, and why should they choose Ashley Gilbreath interior design as their designer of choice?
Um, I think do some digging when you're looking for someone to make sure that um, that you're similar. As
Mm-hmm.
silly as it sounds, that your values are in the same place. We love people. We love people a lot, and we're in an industry that it's not 1 + 1 = 2. There may be expectations that are out there that that I have or that the client has that aren't the same, and we don't know that going into it. And so I hate to say there's not tension in this industry, but there's ups and downs and expectations. And you want to make sure that you're dealing with people that are happy and that are eager to please, and that don't flip out easily. Goodness gracious, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Nobody likes confrontation, and so let's make it, if you're going to have one, because that's real life, that happens. Let's make it be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think just as silly as it sounds, I think the relationship matters. Make sure they're talented, make sure they know what they're doing, they have a good team to support them, that they have executed jobs in the past well, that they're knowledgeable. All those kind of common sense things really matter. But way down deep, the relationship is important, because you have to make sure that you have similarities with the builder, with the no, you don't have to all like the same restaurant. I don't mean like that, but make sure that you're handling real life in a similar way. Make sure that your beliefs and your morals line up. And
Mm-hmm.
I think as long as you're dealing with someone that's honest and intentional, and I'd love to say that they're Christian and that they have their morals in the same place, those kind of things, then you can ensure a pretty good result. So I think just make sure that you're on the good same page with somebody.
Amen to that. That was a great
Okay.
answer. I really appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. You gave a lot of great info. I really do appreciate
Thank
you.
you for taking the time to dig on this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really. Then last final thing too, where can people find you, connect with you, social media, anything like that?
Easy enough. The website is ashleygilbreath.com, and on social media we are Ashley Gilbreath Interior Design. I had to think about that for a minute. Ashley Gilbreath Interior Design is our interiors one, and then our shop one is Paris Shop, and then we have a personal one too. So this is a work by itself. It's just social media, and the personal one is Ashley F. Gilbreath. So it kind of helps people be able to understand who you are. I think if they can tap into the personal side for a moment, it's business. But
Highly agree. Highly agree. Ashley, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. And guys, we'll see you guys on the next episode.
thank you.
Thank you. That was good.